I found my wife's forum posts, leaving my pathetic pilot husband. She'd been planning with her ex-client for 2 years. During the air show, she'd flee with the kids on a private jet. I acted normal. When she reached the airfield, police were already waiting. You ever have a moment that rips the ground out from under you? Mine started with a Wi-Fi issue. My name's Leon. I'm 42. I live in Savannah, Georgia, and I've been flying private jets for nearly 20 years now. I've flown celebrities, billionaires, foreign dignitaries, you name it. I'm the guy people trust when the skies are worth millions. So when our home router started acting up one night, I did what I always do: fix it myself. My wife, Morgan, had left her backup tablet charging on the kitchen counter. I grabbed it to check the router settings, thinking nothing of it. That tablet was practically retired, used mostly for movies on flights or emergency Zoom calls when Morgan's main laptop died. She's a former aviation analyst turned freelance consultant. Smart, calm, and unervingly organized. I opened the browser, and that's when it started. There was a forum still logged in. Not Reddit. Not Facebook. Something called JetFixers.net, a niche maintenance board I recognized from hangar banter. Mostly crew engineers and ground ops guys swapping manuals and schematics. I didn't even know Morgan was on there. Her username was Altitude Queen, and she'd been posting. A lot. Curious, I clicked her profile. 2 years of messages. At first, it was technical. Maintenance loopholes, regulation dodges, backdoor methods to speed up travel clearances. All high-level stuff. Then I saw the private threads. Password-protected discussions with only a handful of members. I cracked one open and felt my spine go cold. Can't wait to finally leave my husband for good. Private skies, private life. Goodbye, Leon. The timestamp was from 2 days ago. My throat dried out. I clicked back, opened another post. She'd outlined a full plan, down to forged flight manifests and fake custody paperwork. She was planning to vanish. With our kids. There was a thread titled Monte Carlo Timeline. I opened it and stared at the bulleted checklist like I was reading a heist plan. VIP charter coverage locked. Leon grounded for 3 days. Alt IDs approved for E+C, our daughter Emma and son Caleb. Luxembourg registration complete. Final pickup from guest house, Friday at 0600. Renee clears border solo, if necessary. My heart was pounding. Not just from the betrayal. From the precision. The intent. She wasn't just running away. She was executing a mission. And the worst part? She knew exactly where I'd be. At the Monte Carlo Aviation Showcase, flying back-to-back for high-profile clients. I'd be locked in the air for 72 hours, untouchable. I searched the name Renee in her messages. He wasn't just a fling. He was a partner. A high-net-worth client turned lover, according to one post. Already in Europe. Already prepping the new life. I backed away from the tablet like it had burned me. My wife, the woman I built a family with, was going to kidnap our kids and disappear across the world. And she'd been planning it for 2 years right under my nose. I stared out our kitchen window, where the backyard light still blinked over the swing set. Emma's pink helmet was lying in the grass. Caleb's toy drone sat disassembled on the patio table. I couldn't breathe. My whole life, my family, was about to vanish. And I'd almost missed it completely. Almost. The next morning, I woke up before dawn. Not because I had anywhere to be, but because I couldn't sleep knowing what I knew. I lay in bed beside Morgan, listening to her breathe evenly, peacefully, like nothing was wrong. Like she hadn't spent the last 2 years plotting to disappear with our children. I knew what I had to do. If I confronted her now, I'd lose. She'd accelerate the plan or pull the escape trigger early. So I played along. By breakfast, I was smiling like always, sipping coffee and chatting about Caleb's loose tooth and Emma's gymnastics class. Morgan kissed my cheek like she always did. Nothing in her face gave her away. I started gathering proof that same day. First, I went back to that tablet. Took screenshots of every message, every alias, every itinerary. I backed up the files to an encrypted drive I kept for flight data logs. Then I wiped my prints off and set the tablet back exactly how I found it. Next, I checked her email. Morgan had always been careful, but not careful enough. Hidden under a folder marked Corporate Itinerary Archives were a half-dozen PDFs, fake meetings, fake consulting gigs, even one in Vienna for a mid-level safety compliance summit that didn't exist. I cross-referenced the dates. They lined up with the dates she planned to move the kids. I printed everything. That night, Once she was asleep, I went to her closet. We'd had a small safe there for years. Mostly my idea, a just-in-case stash for jewelry and documents. What Morgan didn't know was that I'd noticed a false floorboard under her shoe rack about a year ago, right after she had a renovation guy adjust shelving. I never gave it much thought. Until now. I pried it open with a small flathead from my toolbox. Inside, 2 burner phones, a USB stick, multilingual ID applications with Emma and Caleb's photos pasted in, an exit packet of forged birth certificates under new names, Elise and Corbin Rue, a yellow highlighted itinerary showing a private jet departing from Nice Airport, booked under my own aviation company's name. On the same weekend, I'd be flying in Monte Carlo. I had to sit down. She wasn't just running away. She was using my company, my credentials, to pull it off. And if she succeeded, I'd be the one flagged. It'd look like I trafficked my own children. There was one more thing, a printed investment statement. A Swiss bank account in Zurich. Over $200,000 transferred over the past year, in round amounts. 50 here, 75 there. I knew our finances well enough to know where it came from. Slow siphons from our joint accounts, masked as vendor payments or quarterly bonuses. I took photos of it all. By the end of the week, I had a full file of digital and physical evidence. That's when I called Qasim. Qasim Shah was a former aviation compliance attorney who'd pivoted into international custody and abduction law. I'd flown him once, years ago, and remembered he dealt with messy family extractions, as he put it. We met at a small cafe in Marseille, 2 hours from home. I slid the folder across the table without saying a word. He flipped through it for 5 minutes before speaking. "You'll need an emergency motion," he said finally. "Asset control, custody claim, international freeze notices. We act now, or we may never see them again." I nodded. Then we act now. From that moment on, I wasn't just a father. I was a counter-ops team of one. Qasim didn't waste time. Within 48 hours, he had filed an emergency custody motion in Georgia Family Court. The petition was marked high-risk parental abduction and came with a 20-page affidavit. My statement, the forum logs, the false IDs, the charter manifest under my company's name, all of it. While the court reviewed the motion, Qasim put me on a strict no-escalation plan. "You let her believe she's still in control," he said. "That's the only way we buy time." So I smiled. I kissed Morgan goodnight. I helped Emma with math homework and let Caleb beat me at Mario Kart. I even agreed when Morgan asked if I could maybe try to be less tense lately. Meanwhile, I was quietly dismantling her exit plan. Step 1. Take the money. Morgan thought she was clever. The Zurich account was in her name only, set up through a digital finance broker that specialized in location flexibility. But she'd made a mistake. 2, actually. First, she'd used our joint aviation company as a fund source, even if indirectly. That gave me legal standing. And second, she had linked it, just once, to our primary savings account, which meant I had trace access through our financial dashboard. With Qasim's help, I froze it. Every remaining dollar in our joint assets, about $400,000 between accounts and holdings, was transferred into a trust under my sole control, overseen by a court-appointed trustee, pending the outcome of the custody hearing. The company charter license was also locked. No flights could be scheduled under my name without biometric confirmation and a dual signature code. Morgan wouldn't know anything had changed until she tried to move money again, or board that jet. Step 2. Flag the kids. Qasim coordinated with U.S. Customs and Interpol to place temporary child exit alerts on Emma and Caleb. Their passports, even under altered names, were now tied to a red flag system. If anyone tried to take them through an international port, commercial, private, or maritime, a notification would go out. We also had digital facial scans of the kids submitted to the Global Missing Minors Watch List. Not because they were missing yet, but because they were close to being gone forever. Step 3. Monitor everything. That's when we intercepted the message. Morgan had switched to her burner phone. I only caught it because I'd cloned its contents from the SIM card in the hidden closet stash. She had texted Renee, the lover, from a private encryption app, "Phase B is green. If we hit any resistance, we go maritime. New plan, yacht to Gibraltar. You ready?" My hands went cold. She had a backup escape plan. A failsafe. A private yacht. Smuggled departure. Avoid airspace entirely. Qasim read the message and leaned back in his chair. "That's your window," he said. "She thinks she's smarter than everyone in the room." I nodded slowly. "Good," I said. "Then she won't see us coming." We had maybe a week, and the real show was just getting started. 3 days before the Monte Carlo showcase, Morgan suggested a family trip to Minton. "Just a quick weekend getaway," she said. "Some sun, some croissants, a little quality time before I left for the air show." I knew exactly what it was, her final dress rehearsal. I agreed, of course. "Act normal," Qasim had reminded me. "No cracks in the mask. Let her believe she's winning." So I smiled, packed a beach bag, and kissed her on the forehead. Minton was beautiful. Pastel buildings stacked along the coast, cafe patios buzzing with tourists, and the faint scent of citrus drifting in from every direction. Morgan booked us into a boutique hotel near the old harbor, 2 rooms with an adjoining balcony. The kids were giddy. Morgan was radiant. I played the part of relaxed husband without missing a beat. But I noticed everything. At breakfast, Morgan handed Emma a small note card with French phrases. "Basic stuff. May I use the restroom? My name is Elise." She told Emma it was a game, like spy school. At dinner, she slid Caleb a keychain with a toy boat on it and winked. "For our next adventure," she whispered, just loud enough for me to hear. I caught her wiping the kids' iPads one morning. Full reset, factory default. She blamed a glitch. Then she asked if I'd mind taking a walk with Caleb while she reorganized her files on the hotel Wi-Fi. I took the walk. Then, when she went for a massage that afternoon, I scanned the room. Her suitcase had marine luggage tags. She'd swapped out the usual Samsonite tags for ones reading Port Hercules, departure, hold 7C. She didn't just have a plan B. She had every inch of this story scripted. That night, Morgan surprised me. She handed me a gift-wrapped box. "Anniversary's next week, but I wanted you to have this now," she said sweetly. Inside was a leather pilot's journal, engraved with my initials. She even teared up a little as I flipped through the first blank pages. I almost laughed. It was a decoy, a well-timed, sentimental gesture to throw me off the scent, to make me believe she was still invested in us. I leaned over, kissed her gently, and said, "You always know how to make me feel grounded." She smiled like she believed it. I waited until everyone was asleep before opening the hidden surveillance app on my phone. I had discreetly mounted a pinhole camera in the corner of our rental car trunk back in Nice. There was a matching tracker in Emma's stuffed dolphin. It pinged her location every hour. I uploaded the Minton footage to a secure cloud folder and sent the link to Qasim with a message. "She's tightening the noose. Kids are being trained to answer to new names. Confirming prep for yacht route." He replied within minutes. "Noted. Let her set the stage. The more detailed her deception, the more she'll hang herself with it." I closed the app, lay back on the bed, and stared at the ceiling. 3 days. That's all I had to wait. Let her believe she's escaping. Let her smile all the way to the edge. I'd be waiting when she jumped. The day before I flew out for the Monte Carlo showcase felt almost surreal. Too quiet. Too smooth. Morgan had made pancakes that morning, humming some old Billie Holiday tune in the kitchen like she hadn't spent the past 2 years plotting to steal our kids and vanish. She kissed me on the cheek, poured my coffee, and told me she'd made special weekend plans with the kids while I was away. I smiled and said that sounded perfect. The lie sat heavy in my mouth, but I swallowed it like everything else. I took Emma and Caleb to the park that afternoon, watched them run through the fountain jets, laugh over melting popsicles, completely oblivious to what was almost their last weekend with me. Emma told me again about the new house with ponies Mommy promised. I nodded like it made sense. "You're gonna love it," I said gently, my heart quietly cracking in my chest. Back at home, I noticed the suitcases were gone from the hall closet. Morgan said she had moved them to make space for your showcase gear. Later, I checked the guest house. There they were. 2 luxury Rimawa suitcases, perfectly packed. One pink, one navy, both tagged with the same marine cargo stickers I saw in Minton. I opened the pink one. Inside were carefully folded outfits in Emma's size, with matching hair ribbons. At the bottom, a thin, manila folder. I flipped through it. Inside were new passports. Elise Rue, Corbin Rue. Dates of birth matched, photos matched. Even the signature lines were printed with fake scribbles in the kids' handwriting. I didn't take anything, just snapped pictures and repacked everything exactly the way she'd left it. That night, Over dinner, Morgan asked if I could help finish just a few more showcase forms. She handed me my tablet, her old one, wiped clean now, and pointed to a section asking for crew manifest approvals. I tapped through, pretending to scroll. I knew what she was doing. She was testing if I'd noticed, seeing if I'd flinch. I didn't. I smiled and passed it back. You always handle the paperwork better, I said. After the kids went to bed, I received a message from Kasim. Interpol report in. René equals René Duret equals Eric Valmont equals Jean-Michel de Vries. Identity fraud expert. 3 known aliases. History of forged custody papers in Belgium, Monaco, and Spain. I stared at the message for a long time. The man who was about to drive my kids across a border wasn't just a manipulator. He was a ghost with a passport printer and a full offshore network. I texted back. Noted. She trusts him with everything. Kasim responded immediately. Then we'll take everything from him. Let them walk into the net. The house was quiet that night. Morgan kissed me goodnight and curled into my chest like nothing had changed. But I lay awake, eyes open in the dark. This was the end of the calm. And in the morning, the storm would begin. I left for Monte Carlo at 4:15 a.m. sharp. Morgan helped load my suitcase into the car, gave me a long kiss on the driveway, and whispered, "Be safe up there, Captain." The kids waved from the porch in their pajamas. Emma had her stuffed dolphin, still carrying the tracker I planted deep inside the seam. It was almost enough to make me break. Almost. Instead, I drove away with my jaw locked and my stomach tight. The Monte Carlo Aviation Showcase was a fortress of security and PR teams, hangar demonstrations, photo ops, and high-end clients who needed someone like me to fly them between French villas and private islands. I had a schedule so tight, I wouldn't be able to leave for 72 hours. That's why she chose this weekend. She thought I'd be unreachable, unstoppable. She wasn't wrong, until I made sure she was. I arrived at the tarmac, ran my checks, smiled for the photographers, shook hands with a Saudi prince. I played the part. But behind the scenes, my real operation was unfolding. At 6:42 a.m., my phone buzzed. The tracker in Emma's Dolphin went live. They were on the move. Kasim was watching too. A hidden app streamed live GPS data from the stuffed animal and motion alerts from the rear cargo camera I installed in the trunk of Morgan's rental car. A text from Kasim came through. She's diverting. Not heading to Monaco. Heading east. Border route. I didn't panic. Morgan had changed the plan. She wasn't going to the port, where we expected the yacht departure. She was heading to a private airfield near the Italian border. A small, unregulated strip typically used for discreet VIP charters. Still legal, but quiet. That's where René was waiting. At 7:19 a.m., the car stopped near the airfield's east entrance. My camera caught René stepping out of a rented van. He opened the rear hatch and pulled out 2 duffel bags, 1 stroller, and a bundle of paperwork. Kasim's team was already there. French border enforcement, Interpol officers, and a neutral child services liaison. All on standby. At 7:24 a.m., just as Morgan opened the trunk and reached for the pink suitcase, the agents moved in. Marked cars pulled in fast but silent. 4 officers approached the vehicle with calm authority. No weapons drawn. Just quiet commands and a flurry of identification checks. The footage streamed straight to my phone. I watched Morgan's face shift from casual confidence to full-body confusion. Emma was already in the car seat. Caleb stood beside her in a new jacket, unaware. I could hear him faintly on the audio. "Mommy, are we still going to see the ponies?" Morgan started to protest. There must be some mistake. We're scheduled for a private. But the officer already had the documents in hand. Falsified adoption records. Passports under false names. Charter slot booked under my company. Then they turned to René. That's when he ran. He made it 15 feet before a second team intercepted him behind the van. He didn't fight, just dropped to his knees and said, in broken French, "I'm just the driver." At 7:31 a.m., the children were safely transferred to the child services liaison. Emma clutched her dolphin. Caleb started to cry when they put him in a separate car. At 7:33 a.m., Morgan was officially detained under suspicion of parental abduction, fraud, and international identity crimes. At 7:37 a.m., I stepped away from the showcase hangar, ducked into a quiet service stairwell, and slid down to the floor. For the first time in days, I could finally breathe. She didn't get away. and my kids were coming home. Morgan was arrested and taken into custody in Nice within the hour. Renee, if that was even his real name, was held on separate charges related to international document fraud, wire transfers, and possession of forged diplomatic credentials. Within 24 hours, Qasim secured an emergency hearing in Savannah. The judge reviewed the evidence and granted me full temporary custody of Emma and Caleb. No visitation, no calls. Morgan's attorney filed a motion to release her on bail, arguing she was a devoted mother under extreme emotional pressure. The judge didn't blink. Bail denied. By the time I flew home, the kids were already settled at my parents' place, surrounded by puzzles, cartoons, and homemade banana bread. They didn't ask many questions. Emma just looked at me and said quietly, "Mommy said we were going to our real family." That broke me. I knelt down beside her, held her tiny shoulders, and said, "You're already with your real family, sweetheart. I promise you that." Caleb nodded like he understood, even if he didn't. Back in court, Morgan sat across from me in an orange jumpsuit, her hair pulled back, wrists chained loosely in her lap. She wouldn't meet my eyes. When the judge asked if she had anything to say, she finally looked up. "He was never around," she said, voice thin. "Always flying. Always busy. I did everything. And he made me feel like I didn't exist. Like I was a nanny, not a wife." Her voice cracked then, but no one moved. I stared at her, my jaw locked. Not a word of apology. No mention of the 2 years of deception, the passports, the fake names. No remorse. Just blame. Just deflection. After the hearing, I waited outside the courthouse. I didn't need to, but I did. They brought her out in cuffs, escorted by 2 officers. She saw me standing there by the curb, alone. We locked eyes. "What were you thinking?" I asked, my voice low. She didn't answer at first, just shook her head, like she still didn't believe she'd been caught. "You plan to erase me," I said. "Erase their last names. Erase me. Do you even realize what you were about to do to them?" Her eyes filled, but she blinked the tears away. "I wasn't erasing you. I was protecting them from growing up like you. Always gone. Always cold." I stepped forward, hands trembling. "You weren't protecting them. You were stealing them. You had backup plans for your backup plans, Morgan. You were gone." She looked down, lips tight, and that was the end of it. They loaded her into the van. I stood there for a while, alone on the sidewalk, the heat rising off the concrete around me. Everything felt still. Too still. Later that night, after tucking in the kids and triple locking every door in the house, I called a child psychologist and scheduled appointments for both Emma and Caleb. They'd need help. So would I? The next morning, I filed for divorce. And for once, I didn't second-guess it. 3 months later, Morgan took a plea deal. Her lawyer tried to spin it as mercy, said she was deeply remorseful and not a danger to her children. The deal reduced her prison time in exchange for full cooperation, naming her accomplices, turning over documents, and forfeiting any custodial rights. She didn't even contest it. She just signed the papers, eyes blank, mouth tight. In return, she got a lighter sentence. 5 years, parole eligible in 2. But she would never legally see Emma or Caleb again without my consent. And she knew I'd never give it. After the court finalized the agreement, I packed our things. The house in Savannah held too many ghosts. I sold it within a month and bought a modest home outside Asheville, North Carolina, closer to my parents, surrounded by trees, quiet roads, and decent schools. Emma and Caleb started over like kids do, faster than I did. Emma made a friend in her new class within 2 days. Caleb took to the backyard like it was his private kingdom, building stick forts and digging holes I kept tripping in. At night, they still asked about their mother sometimes. Not always directly, just in pieces. Was Mommy sick? Did she love us still? Do people forget who they are? I never spoke badly about her. I told them the truth in a way they could carry. Mommy made a very big mistake. She thought she was doing something right, but it wasn't. And it hurt a lot of people, including you. They nodded like they understood. I don't know if they did, but I think one day they will. Qasim kept in touch. He called once to tell me that Renee, real name Jean-Michel de Vries, had vanished from his holding cell during a routine transfer in Spain. Gone without a trace. I didn't react. He could disappear 100 times over, but he'd never get near my kids again. Eventually, I left flying behind, sold my share of the company, and opened a small pilot training school just outside town. We rent airspace from a local field and offer one-on-one coaching to people chasing that childhood dream of flying. I like it. It's honest work. Every night, I put the kids to bed and walk through a quiet house without alarms, without fear. I still keep the surveillance footage, the forum screenshots, the false passports. Not because I need them now, but because once, I almost lost everything. And I never want to forget how close she came. Last night, after the kids fell asleep, I sat at my desk and opened the encrypted drive where I'd stored it all. Morgan's messages, the fake IDs, the goodbye post. Can't wait to finally leave my husband for good. Private skies, private life. Goodbye, Leon. I hovered over the folder. Then I hit delete. One by one, the files disappeared. And when the final one was gone, I closed the laptop, walked down the hall, and kissed both of my children on the forehead. We were still here, and we were finally safe.